Good morning, everyone. We're going to take a look for a minute or two at the last Mishnah we learned, and then we're going to go into Perek Gimel and build the Mizbe'ach, begin building the Mizbe'ach. The last year we learned Middos Perek Beis, Mishnah Vov. And the first words in the Mishnah, Ulashokos hayu tachas ezos Yisrael, upsuchos le'ezos hanoshim, sheshom halaviyim nosnim kinoros unavolim umitzaltayim v'chol klishir. This is page 39 of your Masechta Middos. I'm just looking at that first part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that there were rooms under the Ezras Yisrael, and these rooms had musical instruments stored in them for the Levium when the Levium would sing Shir. I don't recall if we actually looked at the diagram, but as you recall, again, we go back to diagram 3. You walked into the Har Habayis through Shushan Habira, this white area. You walked through the Soreg gate. You walked through the Chayil. You walked into the Ezras Nashim. You walked up the 15 steps of Shar Nicanor. You went into Shar Nicanor. Then there was Ezras Yisrael, which was 11 amos by 135 amos. You went then, if you were a Kohen, into the Ezras Kohanim, again 11 amos by 135 amos. And then you come to the Mizbe'ach, which we're going to learn about today. As Perek Beis Mishnah Vav at the beginning, it says that there were rooms under the Ezras Yisrael that they put the musical instruments in. So if we take a look at diagram 18, I'm not sure we took a look at it, it's diagram 18. There are your 15 steps, and there's Shar Nicanor. Behind this wall is the Ezras Yisrael, the 11 by 135 area known as Ezras Yisrael. Again, going back to diagram 3, you walk through the 15 steps and you see the thin slither of area. The diagram notes Ezras Yisrael. So diagram 18, behind this door is Ezras Yisrael, behind this wall is Ezras Yisrael. To get to Ezras Yisrael, you went up you went up these 15 steps. Now that means that these 15 steps, we said each step is a half an amma. So 15 steps are 7.5 amos, which means that the Ezras Yisrael, which is behind this wall, is 7.5 amos higher than the Ezras Nashim, which is the base of the steps. In other words, from the base of the step until you got to the top of the step, you had ascended 7.5 amos. You walked up 15 steps, and now you're 7.5 amos higher than you were at the bottom step. So you went through the door, you're 7.5 amos higher than you were from the first step. And now the whole Ezras Yisrael behind this wall is built on an elevation. So there's room underneath the Ezras Yisrael to have rooms. So there were doors in the Ezras Nashim. You open the doors, and there are rooms in there. And these rooms are built under the ceiling of the Ezras Yisrael. And it's in these rooms that they kept the musical instruments. Okay, we're now going to take a look for a moment again at diagram 3. I just want everyone to understand, because we're moving in deeper into the Beis HaMikdash. We are talking about now the Azorah. We mentioned many times we're not talking about the Ezras Nashim. Ezras Nashim is 135 by 135 and is not included in Azorah. Azorah is 187 east to west, 135 north to south. This is the structure we're now concentrating on, the Azorah. We had a machlokas whether the Azorah had 7 entry points or 13 entry points. Whether it's a machlokes or not a machlokes, a different opinion to be shown. But we saw two different opinions, whether there are 7 entryways into Azara or 13. In the Azara itself, meaning from the time you enter Shar Nicanor, right here, until you get to the back of the Azara, right here, there are 6 separate places that have different rules. 6 different places that have different Kedusha. You walk through Shar Nicanor, you're in Ezras Yisrael, 1 level of Kedusha. You walk a little further, you're in Ezras Kohanim, 2nd level of Kedusha. You walk a little further, you're in the area of the Mizbe'ach, 3rd level Kedusha. You walk a little further, you're in the space called Bein Mizbe'ach LaUlam or Bein Ulam LaMizbe'ach. The Ulam is this rectangular structure. The space between where the Mizbe'ach ends on the west and the Ulam begins is called Bein Ulam V'la Mizbe'ach, and that's the 4th area of Kedusha. And then you have the whole structure, Ulam plus Heichel. And in the Heichel, you have the menorah, the shulchan, and the Mizbe'ach HaKtores. And behind the partition, you have the Aron. That's 5 areas. And then behind this door, this black wall right here that I'm pointing to, this black wall is the back wall. Let's use this wall. This black wall right here. This black wall is the back of the Aron Kodesh. And then we're going to learn about there were rooms here, Ta'im. But between the back wall and this outer wall, look at this outer wall that has 2 entry points. This outer wall is the wall of the Azara. It goes all around the Azara, this wall, and has different entry points into the Azara. This wall is the back wall of the Heichel. Between the back wall of the Heichel and the back wall of the Azara, there are 11 amos, and that's your 6th area. Ezras Yisrael 1, Ezras Kohanim 2, Mizbe'ach 3, between the Mizbe'ach and the Ulam 4, the Heichel 5, and from the back of the Heichel to the Azara 6. 6 different levels of Kedusha inside Azara. Okay, we're now ready to move on to build a Mizbe'ach, but before we build a Mizbe'ach, we're going to take a look at diagram 3 and see the area of the Mizbe'ach. You went into Shar Nicanor through Ezras Yisrael, through Ezras Kohanim. As we mentioned, a Yisrael can only stay in Ezras Yisrael. He was not supposed to go into Ezras Kohanim, and certainly not further to the Mizbe'ach. A Yisrael was permitted to go to the Mizbe'ach if he needed to do something for his korban. He had to put his hands on the korban for smicha. He had to lift something up for tenufa. For those purposes, he was able to go to the Mizbe'ach. Other than that, he had to remain within the 11 amos by 135 amos Ezras Yisrael. The Kohanim were able to go further in the list 11 by 135 amma area. Even if they weren't doing an avodah, they just came to watch. Kohanim were able to go a little further than a Yisrael. Kohanim that were doing avodah certainly were able to go to the Mizbe'ach. And Kohanim that had to light the menorah, they went into the Ulam and into the Heichel. The Kohanim that had to deal with the Lechem Aponim went into the Ulam, into the Heichel. The Kohanim that had to bring the Ketores, they were able to enter the Ulam and the Heichel. And the Kohen Gadol, once he on Yom Kippur, was able to go into the Kodesh Kadoshim. So let's take a look at this area. This is the Mizbe'ach area. In this Mizbe'ach area, you notice that the Mizbe'ach goes, there's a ramp, a kevesh. We all know about the Mizbe'ach is going to be very tall, as we're going to learn about. They needed a ramp to go up, and the ramp begins on the south and goes up towards the north. And you see the Mizbe'ach, the end of the Mizbe'ach is just about halfway into the Azara. There's open space. And then in the north part of the Azara, okay, you have something called the Beis HaMitbachayim. for lack of a better word, it's the butcher shop. After the animal was slaughtered in the Beis Hamikdash, there are all kinds of tables and hooks and all kinds of things that we'll learn about here to perform the shechita in the Beis Hamikdash, a tabach, the place of the slaughter, the butcher shop. Then the karbonos will be ready to be brought on the Mizbe'ach. So the Mizbe'ach, the kevesh, begins in the south, moves towards the north, and there's your Mizbe'ach. On the northern wall, you have the area called Beis Hamikdash. And today we're going to start learning about how to build a Mizbe'ach. Before we learn about how to build a Mizbe'ach, I hope you have a handout. I sent them out late last night. I hope they were distributed. And this is the handout called Rambam 5. Rambam 5 looks like this. It has diagram 20 on top of it, which is not in the Rambam. I just inserted it there. Excuse me. Diagram 20. Below diagram 20, you have Rambam 5. This is the fifth piece of Rambam that we're learning, and this is a Rambam in Hilchos Beis HaBechira. The Rambam gives us an introduction to the entire construction of the Mizbe'ach. The Rambam says as follows: HaMizbe'ach makomo mechuvim bioser. The place that the Mizbe'ach had to be put on the Harabayas, inside the Beis Hamikdash, inside the Azorah. The exact point where this Mizbe'ach had to be is precise. Ve'ein meshanen oso mimkom olam. You're never allowed to change the place where the Mizbe'ach must sit. It can't be off a little, on a little, and this is going to be quite an in-depth sugya that we're going to learn about as we learn through Mishnah Aleph. We probably will not get there to that part of the Mishnah today. But this became a big issue because the Mizbe'ach had to be built in such a way that there was we'll call it a pipe on the Mizbe'ach. There was a hole on the top of the Mizbe'ach. When they poured the wine on the Mizbe'ach for a korban, or they poured the water on the Mizbe'ach on Sukkot, the water went down to the Shitin. Remember, we learned about this. Why did David write 15 kapitel Tehillim that start with Shir HaMalos? One of them is Shir HaMalos. We went through the Gemara last week, I believe, that David Melech dug the Shitin. This is the, so to speak, the depth, the tahom. It goes down, it's a pipe that goes down to the center of the earth, the center fountain of water for the earth. And so the top of the Mizbe'ach had a pipe in it or a hole in it that the water would go down to the center of the earth. And David was Korah Shitin. He dug this. The problem was, the Gemara says, when he dug it, he went a little too far and he busted the plug on the tahom, and there was a flood. And the waters from the center of the earth came up, and they were going to flood the world. And that was the story where David HaMelech wanted to know what he can do. And finally, they wrote Hashem's name on a piece of earthenware. They put it on it. That's the story we read in the Gemara. At any rate, David HaMelech, the water went all the way back down, and it went too far. At any rate, David HaMelech said Shir HaMalos to bring the water back up 15 levels. And then the water is now one level or one amma between the water and the surface of the earth. There's now one amma, which is a safe place for it to be. That's why he wrote the 15 Shir HaMalos. The water went down too far. So originally the water was going to flood the earth. The water went down. We read the Gemara. So that's why David said the 15 Shir HaMalos. So this Mizbe'ach had to be built in such a way that it was situated in a way that this special pipe on the Mizbe'ach would be connected into the Shitin. So it had to be put in a precise place. So the Rambam says, "Hamizbeach makomo mechuvin biyoser." It is very precise, the Mizbeach. Ve'ein mishanen oso mimkomo la'olam. You can never change the place of this Mizbeach. Shenema, the Pasuk says, Zeh Mizbeach la'ola liyisrael. David HaMelech built a Mizbeach. Before the Beis HaMikdash was built, David HaMelech built a Mizbeach. At the end of Sefer Shmuel Beis, excuse me, there was a plague, Nebuch and Klal Yisrael. We discussed that weeks ago, and David HaMelech concluded that the problem was, as the Ramban explains in Parshas Chukas, the problem was that the Jewish people hadn't demanded the building of the Beis HaMikdash. They were now almost 480 years since they left Mitzrayim, and they've gone through a period of Moshe, of course, in the desert, and then Yoshua and the Shoftim, and this went on in Eretz Yisrael for 440 years. From the time the Jews left Mitzrayim until the building of the first Beis HaMikdash, we have a pasuk. It says 480 years. The time we left Mitzrayim until the time Shlomo builds the Beis HaMikdash, 480 years. 40 of those years are spent in the desert. So 480 less 40 is 440. So from the time the Jews crossed the Jordan with Yoshua and built the Beis HaMikdash with Shlomo is 440 years. And the question is, why didn't they build the Beis HaMikdash before? The Ramban says in Parshas Chukas, because they didn't ask for it. And if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. It's a lesson for us today. You have to ask for it. You have to want it. You have to desire it. You have to demand it. But they didn't. And finally, at the end of David HaMelech's life, almost 440 years after they entered Eretz Yisrael, there's no Beis HaMikdash. And David HaMelech realized that part of this whole situation with the plague was because there was no moving forward on the Beis HaMikdash. And he went to Ravna HaYevusi, the guy who owned this piece of land called the Har HaBayis, and he bought it from him. And David HaMelech understood that that would stop the plague, which it did. David HaMelech then built a Mizbe'ach on this mountain, which we now call Har HaBayis. And the pasuk says that David said, "Zeh Mizbe'ach la'ola Yisrael." This will be the Mizbe'ach for the Jewish people. Uva Mikdash nekad Yitzchak Avinu, and it's on that place that Yitzchak's Mizbe'ach, upon which the Akedah occurred, was built. How do I know that? The Rambam says, "Shenema v'lech lecha al Eretz HaMoriah." God said to Avram, "Go to the land of Moriah, and there you will bring a korban," which ended up being the Akedah. V'nema b'divrei hayomim, and in Sefer Divrei Hayomim it says, "Vayichal Shlomo livnos es Beis Hashem b'Yushalayim b'Hara Moriah," and Shlomo HaMelech began to build the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim on the Har HaMoriah, Asher nira leDavid Avihu, which was originally shown to David his father, Asher heichin b'mokem David b'goyren Arnon HaYevusi, which David prepared in this area of Arnon HaYevusi. So the Mokem HaKedah, God said to Avraham Avinu, "Go to Har HaMoriah." And when Shlomo HaMelech began building the Beis HaMikdash, it says he built it on Har HaMoriah. Halacha Beis. Rambam now gives us a history lesson. U'mesoros biyad hakol, and we have a Kabbalah from our Chazal, a transmission from generation to generation. Sha'amokim shebona bo David u'Shlomo HaMizbeach begoren Aravna, the place where David built his Mizbeach, and that's not the same Mizbeach as Shlomo's Mizbeach in the first Beis HaMikdash, and that's a whole subject in itself. But this place where David erected a Mizbeach to thank God for ending the plague and to thank God for this purchase of the Har HaBayis, Hu Amokim Shabona Bo Avram HaMizbeach V'okad Alav Es Yitzchak. That's the exact place that Avram took Yitzchak for the Akedah. And that's the exact place. The Torah tells us that when Noach left the Teva, he built a Mizbe'ach and brought Karbonis to Hashem. That's the exact place where he built his Mizbe'ach. We know in the Torah that Cain and Hevel built a Mizbe'ach and offered their respective Karbonis. Cain offered things that grew from the ground, and Hevel offered animals. The Mizbe'ach was right there. Uboy Hikriv Odom Arishan Korban Shenivru. And that's the place where Odom Arishan built a Mizbe'ach and brought Karbonis. So that place, what we call the place of the Mizbe'ach in our Beis Hamikdash that we're building, and B'meher Yameinu will be completed, that place of the Mizbe'ach is where Odom Arishan built his Mizbe'ach. And then Cain and Hevel brought their Karbonis on that Mizbe'ach. When Noach left his Teva, he built the Mizbe'ach in the same place. When David and when Avraham Avinu brought Yitzchak to the Akedah, that's the Mizbe'ach in that place. When David bought the Har HaBayis from Rav Yevusi, that's where he built his Mizbe'ach. When Shlomo built the first Beis HaMikdash, that's where he put that Mizbe'ach. And we're going to learn now, because Masechta Middos talks about the second Beis HaMikdash, that's where the Olei Bavel, those who came back from Bavel after the exile and built the second Beis HaMikdash, that's where they built the Mizbe'ach. And Lasid Lovo, as we're doing it right now, the Binyan Shlishi B'meher Yameinu, the Mizbe'ach will be in that same place. So this is of immense historical importance. Adam, Cain Hevel, Noach, Avram, David, Shlomo, 6 Mizbachos were built in this exact place. The 7th one we're building now, and B'meher Yameinu Rabban Shlomo will complete our work. So this is a very precise place, as the Rambam says. Umisham Nivra, the Rambam says. Adam Harishon was created from that exact place where the Mizbe'ach is built. Remember the pasuk says, "Vayitz Hashem Elokim es Adam ofa min ha'adama." God formed the physical body of Adam from dust of the earth. And then he put a breath of life into his nostrils, his neshama. Where was this dust of the earth? It was the Makom HaMizbe'ach. That's where the dust was formed that made the physical body of Adam Harishon. Amru Chachamim, the Rambam says, our sages teach us, Adam mimakom kaparaso nifra. Man was created from the very place where he seeks his atonement. When a person does an Aveira, talking about a B'shogeg, he comes, certain Aveiras, he comes to the Beis HaMikdash, brings a korban to atone for his Aveira on the Mizbe'ach. And why does he come to this place? To atone for his Aveira? Because that's the place where he was created. The dust of the earth is under that Mizbe'ach. So man goes back to his roots. Remember, we talk about the concept of tshuva. Tshuva is to return, go back. Where do you want to go back to? You want to go back to who you really are. You went off the path. You went off the derech. You did something that's not you. You did something that you really didn't want to do for whatever reason. You want to go back and be who you used to be. So you want to go back to your roots. And therefore, when man comes into the Beis HaMikdash and goes to the Mizbe'ach and offers his korban to atone for himself so that he can go back to who he was, he goes back to the place from which he was created so he can go back to who he was. So this is what our Chachamim teach us. Adam mimakom kaparasai nifra. Man was created from the very place that he goes back to atone for his sins. Halacha Gimel, the Rambam says, Middos HaMizbe'ach mechuvanos harbe. The measurements of the Mizbe'ach are very precise as well. V'tzuraso yedua ish me'ish. And the structure of the Mizbe'ach is known as a Masorah from one generation to another. U'Mizbe'ach shebonu b'nei hagola. The Mizbe'ach, that those who returned from the exile, from Bavel. We're talking about now building the second Beis HaMikdash. You had the first Beis HaMikdash that Shlomo built. It was destroyed by the Babylonians. There's 70 years of the Babylonian exile. You now go to the second Beis HaMikdash. That's called the Olei Bavel. Those who returned, they made Aliyah from Bavel. The Mizbe'ach that the Olei Bavel built, which is what we're going to learn about today, Masechta Middos deals with the second base Hamikdash. Ke'ein Mizbe'ach she'osa libanos. The Mizbe'ach that the people who came back from Bavel built is not the exact Mizbe'ach that Shlomo built in the first base Hamikdash. And that's going to become a subject that the Mishnah is going to talk about, although we probably will not get to it today. The Mizbe'ach of the second base Hamikdash was larger than the Mizbe'ach that Shlomo built in the first base Hamikdash, and that Mizbe'ach of the second base Hamikdash, which we're going to learn about and build today, is similar to the size of the Mizbe'ach of the third base Hamikdash. So as we study today and build this Mizbe'ach through Masechta Middos for the second base Hamikdash, we're actually studying the Mizbe'ach of the third base Hamikdash. Ve'ein lahosef al midaso, you can't add to it. Ve'ein lagroim menu, you can't take away from it. You can't make it bigger, you can't make it smaller. Halacha Dalet. Ushlosh neviim olu imoy min hagola. 3 neviim, the Gemara says in Zvachim, Daf Samach Beis Amud Aleph, the Gemara tells us that 3 neviim came back to Eretz Yisrael with the Aliyah from Bavel. Echad, and these 3 Nevi'im, let me take a look. Let me take a look. Rashi, I know it's Zechariah, it's Malachi is the last one. Chagi, Zechariah, and Malachi. There are 3 Nevi'im who have books in the Trei Asar. Chagi, Zechariah, and Malachi were alive at the building of the second base Hamikdash. Malachi was the last Navi. When Malachi died, Nevuah ended. We have no more Nevi'im. Chagi, Zechariah, Malachi came back to Eretz Yisrael to build the second base Hamikdash. Echad Hayid al Mokem HaMizbeach. One of them testified and explained where the Mizbeach was built. One of the Nevi'im told them the Mokem HaMizbeach. Remember, the Mokem HaMizbeach is very, very precise. So the people coming back from Bavel did not know, they know about the Har HaBayis. They probably had a general idea of where the Mizbeach goes, but a general idea doesn't work. You need to know precisely where the Mizbeach is supposed to be. So one of the prophets told them, this is the exact place of the Mizbeach. Ve'echad heid lahem al midosav. Another Navi told them the precise dimensions of the Mizbeach. Ve'echad heid lahem shemakriven ala Mizbeach hazeh kol ha'karbonos afal pish ein sham bayis. I'm going to tell you what the Rambam says. It comes from the Gemara, and this is a very complex sugya in the Gemara. The third prophet taught them that once you build the Mizbeach properly in the exact place on the Har HaBayis, you are permitted to bring karbonos there even if there's no Beis Hamikdash. Now, for us, that's some kind of fascinating idea that you can build a Mizbeach and not have a Beis Hamikdash and bring karbonos. Yes, according to this opinion, you can bring karbonos. It's a machlokas exactly how you do this. A machlokas in a number of places, including in Masechta Megillah Daf Yud. How do you do this? But you can bring karbonos on the Mizbeach if you know exactly where to put the Mizbeach and exactly how to build it. And then you can bring karbonos even though the Beis Hamikdash is not built. Halacha Hey. Mizbeach she'asa Moshe, v'she'asa Shlomo, v'she'asu b'nei Hagola, v'she'asu lehi asos. The 4 major Mizbechos that we talk about, the one that Moshe built. Of course, we have the historical ones: Adam, Cain, Hevel, Noah, Avram. Those are the historical ones. Now we begin with the Mizbechos that were built for purposes of a tzibur, the whole Klal Yisrael. So the first one is Moshe in the Mishkan. The second one is Shlomo. David did not build that Mizbeach for everybody to bring karbonos. It was his karbonos to offer to Hashem. That's a sugya again in itself. So we have Moshe building the Mizbeach for the Mishkan. We have Shlomo building the Mizbeach for the first Beis Hamikdash. we have the Mizbe'ach that the Ole Bovel built, which we're going to learn about, and the Mizbe'ach that will be built, and we're building, and Hashem will help us with this Mizbe'ach for the third Beis HaMikdash. So it's Moshe's Mishkan, Shlomo's first Beis HaMikdash, the second Beis HaMikdash for the returnees from Bavel, and the fourth one is the Beis HaMikdash L'Asid Lova B'Mher B'Yameinu. All of those four Mizbachos, Eser Amos Gova Kol Echad Mehem, that was not changeable. The height of the Mizbeach from ground to the top to the, I should say from ground to the highest point, as we'll see, from ground to the highest point is 10 Amos. All four of them. V'zeh HaKosav b'Torah Sholosh Amos Kamoso. Yet in the Torah, when Hashem tells Moshe how to build the Mizbeach, he says it should be 3 Amos high. So how can we say that Moshe Rabbeinu's Mizbeach was 10? So the Rambam, quoting the Gemara, says, Makom HaMaracha Bilvat. We're only talking about the top part of the Mizbeach. The top was 3. But there was another piece above it that was 1 and 6 below it. The place where the actual karbonos were brought was 3 amos in height. We're going to see this in the diagram. Below those 3 amos where the karbonos were brought were foundations that were 6. And above where the karbonos were brought, there were the 4 kanos, the 4 corners on this berg that was an amos. So it was 6, 3, and 1 is 10. So when the Torah says the Mizbeach is 3, it's talking about the place where you brought karbonos on the Mizbeach is 3. Umizbeach she'asu b'nei hagola v'chein ha'asu libanos, the Mizbeach that those who came back from Bavel built, and the third Beis HaMikdash Mizbeach, Ark of Rachbo Lamed Beis Amos Alamed Beis Amos. It was 32 amos by 32 amos at its base. And that's we're ready to learn about the Mizbeach. Now we understand the Mizbeach. The place where it was is very particular. It has to be in that place. And it has to be in that place. It has historical connotations to it of immense significance. Adam was created from there. Adam built the Mizbeach there. Cain and Hevel built the Mizbeach there. Noach built the Mizbeach there. Avraham Avinu built the Mizbeach there. David built the Mizbeach there. Shlomo built the Mizbeach there. The second Beis HaMikdash Mizbeach was there. And the third Beis HaMikdash Mizbeach will be there. And this Mizbeach is 32 by 32 at its base. And now we're ready with that introduction to begin learning about how to build a Mizbeach. And now we're in Perek Gimel, Mishnah Aleph. We just learned that the Rambam says that the Mizbeach of the second Beis HaMikdash and the Mizbeach of the third Beis HaMikdash will be 32 amos by 32 amos. That is quite a large structure. 32 amos figures 64 at least, 66, 68 feet by 68 feet was the Mizbeach. So the Mishnah says, HaMizbeach, we're on page 42 of your Masechta Middos, HaMizbeach hayu shloshim ushtayim al shloshim ushtayim. The Mizbeach was 32 by 32. Ola Amma, it went up 1 Amma, V'konas Amma, and it went in 1 Amma, Zeh HaYesod. This is the Yesod, Nimtza Shloshim al Shloshim. Therefore, the next stage of the Mizbeach is 30 by 30. Let us go for a moment. I hope everyone has it. Should have it now. Diagram 19. It has different pictures of a Mizbeach. If we look at diagram 1A, we're only looking at 1A now. 1A, they took 4 boards and they made a misgeret. They made a frame. The frame was made up of boards that were 1 amma high. The boards were long enough, they were longer than 32 amos, a bit longer than 32. And they took 4 boards, 1 on each side, and they made a box. Inside the box is an area of 32 amos. Okay, the area inside this box is 32 amos. They then took special stone. We're going to learn about this stone later, not today. They took this special stones that they got from the ocean. Remember, the stones of the Mizbe'ach could not be cut or chiseled. So these were special type of stones that were never touched by metal. We're going to learn about that in the perek later. These stones could not be touched by metal. Touched, cut. We're going to learn the halachas later. They took a lot of these stones and they filled up this box. How big is this box? 32 amos by 32 amos by 1 amma high. They filled up the box. Now they took tar, hot lead, and other things, and they poured it on top of the stone. And this now hardened the stone. When the stone hardened, they removed the 4 boards that became the frame, and now you have a place called Yesod. The foundation of the Mizbe'ach is now 32 by 32, with a catch, which we'll see in a moment. So if you take a look at diagram 1A, they took 4 boards and made a frame of 32 by 32. Then there was a yitzikah, a pouring. They put stones in here and they poured the hot lead and the tar and other things to make them hold together. You remove the boards, as you can see in 1B, and now you have a place called Yesod. That's what this place is called. This part of the Mizbe'ach is called foundation. 32 by 32, 1 high. Now there's a little trick here, which we don't have to go into right now, but you can see that the 32 by 32 does not go around the whole Mizbe'ach. You see it's cut off. The Mizbe'ach was full 32 on the north side and the west side. The east side of the Mizbe'ach and the south side of the Mizbe'ach were missing part of its border. You can see that around the north and the west, I don't know where my fingers are pointing, but it's immaterial. You can see a full border around north and west. You see the border is cut off east and south. We're going to talk about that bli neder tomorrow. And the way that they had the border cut off is if you look in A1, inside the 32 by 32 frame, on 2 sides of the frame, they put another board. But this board was 31 by 31. Therefore, when they poured, they made the yitzikah, it hardened. And when you remove the frame, the outer 32 by 32, and the 31 by 31 that's on the inside, you ended up with something looking like 1B. You had a solid foundation with a complete border on the north, a complete border on the west, but no border on the east or the south because there was no yitzikah there. That inside frame that was on 2 sides, south and east, held back the yitzikah. It minimized that area. So you ended up with something that looked like 1B. We'll go into why they did this bli neder tomorrow. So that's Yesod. You're at your foundation. Next, the Mishnah says, now what happens? This went up 1. So the Mishnah says, Nimtza shloshim al shloshim, Ol chomesh v'konas ama zer hasoveh. We go now to 1B. I'm sorry, 2A and 2B. They now took another set of 4 boards. But these 4 boards created a frame of 30 by 30. So the Mizbe'ach is 32 by 32 up to a height of 1. And then it went in because instead of the next place being 32 by 32, the next place was 30 by 30. So it was konas amma. It went in 1 amma. It goes in 1 amma on the north, 1 amma on the south, 1 amma on the east, 1 amma on the west. So how much room did it lose? From 32 by 32, because it went in an amma in each side lost 2 amos. So from 32 by 32, the next frame is 30 by 30. The next frame goes up 5 amos. And then they did the same thing. They put the rock in there. They poured the hot lead, the tar, etc., and that now hardened. And you can see here, this pipe that we've been talking about remains in the Yitzikah. They put it in the Mizbe'ach from the very first moment, so that when they put the rocks and they poured the lead, this pipe would remain open. So the Yitzikah, the pouring, went around the pipe, but the pipe remained open into the ground. And 2B is now your finished product in the meantime. You have 32 by 32 Yesod. The next place is called Sovev. It's the encirclement of the Mizbe'ach. It went up 5 amos, but it's 30 by 30. Next part of the mission. Nimtze Esrim Ushmona al Esrim Ushmona. Makom HaKronos, Amma Mizeh v'Amma Mizeh. Now you go to 3A and 3B. They now built a new frame, 28 by 28. And this 28 by 28 frame went up 3 amos. Remember we said earlier, Hashem told Moshe to build the Mizbe'ach 3 amos high. And we asked, how can it be 3 amos? The Rambam says that every Mizbe'ach is 10 amos high. And the Rambam answered, based on the Gemara, that the 3 amos is talking about the place where you bring the carbon. The place where you bring the carbon has the term of art Mizbe'ach. These are the 3 amos. And these 3 amos begin at 28 by 28, because again, the lower section, Sovev, went up 5, went in 1. So from 30 by 30, the next place became 28 by 28. If you want to go back now to just get an idea, we go back to the Rambam page 5 and diagram 20. And it's showing you the bottom of the Mizbe'ach is 32 with a height of 1. And then the Mizbe'ach went up far, there's an indent, right? The bottom of the Mizbe'ach is 32 and it went up 1. And then the next thing they built was only 30 by 30. So there's an indent on each side by 1. So it shows you an indent of 1. The next part of the Mizbe'ach, the Sovev, went up 5 amos. And then it went in 1 on each side. So the next part of the Mizbe'ach, which we call Mizbe'ach, which is 3 high, is now 28 by 28. So we start off at 32 by 32 going up 1. We then have 28 by 28 going up 5. We then have, 32 by 32 at the base going up 1. Then we have 30 by 30 going up 5. And then we have 28 by 28 going up 3. So far the Mizbe'ach is 1, 5 is 6, 3 is 9, and then at every corner of the Mizbe'ach you have a keren, this corner, and that's 1 high, so it's 10. So from the bottom of the Mizbe'ach to the top of the keren is 10. 1 amma high, 5 ammas high, 3 amos high, 1 amma high is 10. If you go back to diagram 19, you see the Mizbe'ach, the bottom, 32 by 32, going up 1. The Sovev, going up 5, 30 by 30. Okay. Then you have what we call the Makai Ma'aracha, or the Mizbe'ach. It goes up 3 and it's 28 by 28. And then you have the keren in each corner. going up 1 for the full height of 10. 1, 5, 3, and 1. Now the Mizbe'ach is additionally reduced by 1 amma because the keren takes up is 1 by 1, 1 wide, 1 long, 1 high. So this keren takes up another amma on each side of the Mizbe'ach. So now the top of the Mizbe'ach, the usable part of the Mizbe'ach, is only 26 by 26. 32, 30, 28. You lost another 2 from the corners, 26. And then they created a mokum hiluch hakohanim. All around the inner part of the Mizbe'ach, Kohanim were able to walk when they needed to do things on top of the Mizbe'ach. And they needed a place to do that. They couldn't walk in the middle of the fire. So they gave them 1 amma by 1 amma all around the Mizbe'ach to walk, which means that the middle of the Mizbe'ach that was open for karbanos, so to speak, was 24 by 24. So we started the bottom of the Mizbe'ach 32 by 32, and the actual top that's available to bring karbanos is 24 by 24. 32 by 32, 30 by 30, 28 by 28. Between the kanos, 26 by 26. We lost another 2 because of the Kohanim. Left you at the top 24 by 24. Now let's read that Mishnah quickly, and we're going to see it again. Let's start from the beginning of the Mishnah. HaMizbe'ach haya shlo, page 42. HaMizbe'ach haya shloshim u'shtayim u'shloshim u'shtayim. The Mizbe'ach was 32 by 32. Ola amma, it went up. The bottom went 32 by 32 to a height of 1. V'konas amma, and then it went in. Zeh yisod. That's the first part of the Mizbe'ach at the bottom. It's called yisod. 32 by 32 by a height of 1. Next, nimtza shloshim al shloshim. Now you're going to create this box of 30 by 30. Ola chomesh, and it's going to go up 5. V'konas amma, and it's going to go in 1. Zeh hasovev. That's the second part of the Mizbe'ach, which we call the sovev. Nimtza esem u'shmona al esem u'shmona. The next height of the Mizbe'ach is going to be a box of 28 by 28, and it's going to go up 3. Makom hakronos, at the top of this 3, you're going to put the 4 corners of the Mizbe'ach. Amma mizev, amma mizeh. Each of them is an amma. Nimtza esem v'sheish al esem v'sheish. Now the top of the Mizbe'ach is 26 by 26. Mekom hiluch raglei kohanim. I want to give a place for the Kohanim to walk all around an amma by an amma. So I'm going to give the Kohen an amma on the east, an amma on the west, an amma on the north, an amma on the south. I reduced east to west by 2 amos, north to south by 2 amos. 26 less 2. Nimtza esrim v'arba esrim v'arba makom hamaracha. Therefore, the place of the actual Mizbe'ach, the makom hamaracha, where the fires were, is now 24 by 24. So from the base of the Mizbe'ach of 32 by 32 yesod until the top of the Mizbe'ach, the makom hamaracha, there was a difference of 8 by 8. You started off at 32 by 32. You ended up at the top of the Mizbe'ach at 24 by 24. 32 by 32 up 1, 30 by 30 up 5, 28 by 28 up 3. The 4 corners took up an amma each direction. The place where the Kohanim walked took up an amma in each direction. 32 by 32 at the bottom, 24 by 24 at the top. So we took a look at diagram number 19. Step 1, 32 by 32 frame. We'll talk about that inner frame that caused this situation where there wasn't a full frame on the east or south. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Frame number 2 is in diagram 2, and that's 5 high, 30 by 30. Frame number 3 is what we call the third, went up 3 and it was 28 by 28. And on top of here is the Mokum Maracha. And then in picture 4, you have the 4 karnos, which made it 26 by 26. You give place for the Kohanim to walk around, 1 amma each side. You're at 24 by 24, which is the last words of the Mishnah, page 43, page 44. Nimtza esrim v'arba, esrim v'arba, v'kom ha'maracha. The top of the Mizbe'ach, where Karbanos were brought, we're now 24 by 24. So we're in the middle of building the Mizbe'ach, and there's a lot more to learn about how to build the Mizbe'ach. The Mizbe'ach had all kinds of parts on its sides. We have to learn about the rim going up to the Mizbe'ach. We have to learn about the Beis HaMitbachayim, that quote-unquote butcher shop, from which you brought the Karbanos to the Mizbe'ach. All that will be discussed in the Perek.